Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to All Hands on Deck. This is our last show of this season, the last show of the year. To my right is the one and only Reverend Gregory Seal Livingston.
I'm so glad to be here on this day with my great brother and fellow freedom fighter, the awesome Reverend Ira Joe Ackred, the pastor of Greater St. John Bible Church, the co-chair of the Leaders Network, out there working hard, and he was in court today with his presence to make sure that justice prevails, especially in this LaWuan McDonald, Jason Van Dyke situation.
Today is LaWuan McDonald's 21st birthday. And ironically, last week, the state made their case. This week, Jason Van Dyke makes his defense. His attorney Herbert, states his case as to how he can say that his shooting, unloading 16 bullets into this young man was justifiable. And so last night when I was saying my prayers, knowing that today was his 21st birthday, I wanted to do something more than just say my prayers. You know, there's a scripture I read somewhere that says faith without works is dead.
Say that.
And so I made a call, and Reverend Hatch came down there later on, and ironically, Jeanette Wilson, attorney Reverend Jeanette Wilson, was there as well. And so we sat throughout the entire 4.5 hours. So today at 6:00 p.m., William Calloway, young freedom fighter, has really done a good job in championing this case. You know, I'm not trying to make this sound like a religious program, but I'm telling you, can I just say this? God uses who he chooses.
Amen.
I mean, no one had ever heard of a William Calloway. But it was him and Brandon Smith, right?
Yes.
The journalist that made sure this particular video that was covered up by state's attorney Anita Alvarez, Superintendent Gary McCarthy, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel, that it was revealed and actually, the FOIA made sure that they could no longer cover it up.
That's right. The public got to see for themselves the lies based on the videotape, and it was important, and it came at the right time. In the fullness of time, that video was revealed. And because all of these things came together, that it was used to win a mayoral election. It was $5 million that was unsolicited in cash, was given to the family as hush money. They didn't even have a lawyer yet. And just, you know, and the thing that Reverend Icree and I have been working on for so long now is about ending this tale of two cities. And part of that is the unequal application of justice, the unequal application of the law, that some people have to be punished by the law, and those that break the same crime or something of that nature are not punished. And we're saying that no one is above the law. Whether you are a civilian or whether you're a police officer, no one is above the law. If you're a cop and you commit murder, you have to suffer the same consequences as a civilian, as a citizen. So this is a good test here in terms of ending this tale of two cities here in Chicago, because we have seen the law unequally applied too many times, which in this segregated city, and now it's time to stop segregating justice and make Chicago one. Justice for all Chicagoans.
3127-381060 if you have a comment. This young man was shot 16 times at the age of 17 years of age. I walked in the courtroom today, and believe it or not, I call myself just showing up, moral support, or just to let people in America, across America, know that us as clergy, we care. And when you know it, fate has it that I end up sitting right by his aunt. And they kept playing the video, pow, 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 pow. Kept playing the video over and over and over again. I'm just looking at it because I'm in court, and they're doing it in slow motion, then they speed it up, and I just happened to look over at the relative, and where everybody else may be desensitized by it, I see her, flinching, and honestly, I tell you, it's just really sad, man. It's really sad. And what happened today was they brought in this forensic expert, and he did a recreation of it in 3D of how it really took place. He was supposed to be able to show it from Jason Van Dyke's perspective, but this African-American attorney that's representing the state ripped him apart. She was flawless. The prosecutor was flawless as she cross-examined him. I tell you. But at the end of the day, when we look at the jury, Reverend Livingston, there are 12 jurors, and there is only one black person on the jury. I couldn't figure that out because Cook County is one of the blackest, pardon the expression, counties in America, and they were only able to find one black juror.
Right.
It almost seems like if there's ever a time that you don't want to do that, it's in a time wherein a guy like Donald Trump has fanned the flame of racism, Yeah, And so it makes you wonder, but hope that justice can still be granted.
And you know what, too, Reverend Akron, when you look at the defense, we understand the defense's job, their task, is to defend their client, who is Jason Van Dyke. And we understand that they have to try to find ways to manipulate the facts in the favor of their client. But, the thing is, it reminds me of an old Red Fox routine. Red Fox said that his wife caught him in bed with another woman, and she walked in there, and she looked at him, and he said, "Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?" And so it's almost like we're looking at the videotape, and the defense has to be so egregious in the way that they attack, this videotape, that they're telling you what you're seeing is not what you're seeing.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you what you're seeing, and that is an egregious defense, and so that is not justice. Just because our system is set up with plaintiff and defendant and in that nature, it's still not justice just to follow that. It's not just the letter of the law, it's also the spirit of the law. And so, like you're saying about the jury, the jury does not represent the demographic that is here in Chicago and in Cook County. And so there is a danger that exists there, and that's why we're going down there to pray on his 21st birthday.
Sure.
When he would have became this legal man, so to speak.
Yes.
Because they shot a boy.
They shot a boy.
Yeah. And you hear the prosecution, they have their experts. I'm just going to say it. They get up there and they lie. And so they say, well, the first shot, killed was lethal. So if the first shot was lethal, why the other 15? So there are all these things that come into play. And once he was standing up when he got shot 12 times, again, they're telling us, don't believe what you see, believe what we manipulate and tell you.
And let me tell you, no matter what kind of case the defense puts on display this week, there are a few things that will never change. Number one, there were some professional policing taking place at first. They called and they asked for tasers.
Charged with the taser.
You got to give them credit for that. Okay, that does not change. What else does not change? That this gentleman came on the scene and within 6 seconds he had unloaded 16 bullets.
Yeah.
That will not change.
Right.
What else would not change? What else would not change is that there were 6 other police officers who lied on their police report.
They lied.
That will not change.
That's right.
What else would not change? What else would not change? That this tape was suppressed.
That's right.
By the powers to be. And we tell young people to believe in government.
And where's the Burger King tape at, Reverend?
Absolutely. It disappeared in the thin air. I guess Houdini still is.
The detectives came and took it.
Yeah.
And again, what we're talking about here, look, I'm a pro-police guy. You know what I mean? But yeah, and Reverend Ackery is as well, because you take all the police out of Chicago, what's going to happen?
I'm leaving.
And it's called human nature.
Absolutely.
But we're just talking about the bad police.
That's what we're talking about.
And the policing that creates this tale of two cities.
Absolutely.
That we have to end.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, this particular agenda item, the 7 agenda items that me and David Cherry, one of the board members from the Leaders Network and the head of Chicago All-Stars, one of the 7 pieces that we need addressed is police reform. We got this consent decree that we fought for. You march, Richard Boykin march, Jesse Jackson march, Hatch march, you know, Roosevelt Watkins march, Dukes march. So we all came under the one umbrella. These guys ain't marched lately, but they marched then. and so many of our young people, they really led the charge. J. Maul and Jedediah and Lamont Rickard and all those guys, you know, we all came together. We marched. Jason, we were out there. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, we got the consent decree, but we still don't have real police reform. And that's one of the things we must have with the new mayor.
Well, Doc, you know, if I could just say this, is that, you know, we talk about the young man Kaepernick with the kneeling on one knee and the black athletes about police brutality. Well, this particular case, this LaWuan McDonald case, is the leading example of in the nation of what we're talking about when it comes to police brutality, and not only about police brutality, but what's are the punishments which will act as a deterrent.
Sure.
And you know, one of the things that our coalition was about was having a community-led renegotiation of the Fraternal Order of Police contract, because they were able to collude these 6 officers because they were given 48 hours before they were interrogated. And so, you know, that allows for cover-up, that allows for collusion. But this case is the one that's going to make or break so many other cases in this country, Doc. And, you know, and Chicago, again, I mean, look at Chicago, who we are in terms of being a black Mecca. We have the disciples of Elijah Muhammad and the disciples of Martin Luther King here.
Right.
You know, I mean, Harold Washington became the most significant black mayor that this country has ever had.
He inspired Barack Obama.
That's right.
why Obama moved to Chicago.
That's right.
Because of the work of Harold Washington.
Chicago produces the first black president, the first black woman senator. We are the Mecca, you know, and so when it comes to this case, that's why so many of us are fighting hard, because we know that there are powers out there that want to keep things just as they are. But we're saying now, no more, enough. End the tale of two cities.
Let's end it. Today is 6 o'clock p.m. I am inviting each and every one of you to meet us at 6 o'clock p.m. at 26 in California in front of the Cook County jail. Yep. And we're going to do a prayer vigil in this young man's honor. We're not going to jail. We're just going in front of it. So, you know, don't worry.
But I'll go.
We know you'll go.
As long as you bail me out, Akron.
Yeah, but 6 o'clock p.m. we'll be there today.
Amen.
It's a vigil in LaWuan McDonald's honor. It's his 21st birthday. He should be here. But instead, on his 21st birthday, his family is in court fighting for justice because some irresponsible road cop took his life. That's unnecessary and shameful.
Without a doubt. I mean, and Jason Van Dyke's record is full of disciplinary violations. And so here's an individual, and we've seen it happen over and over again, Robert Rialmo and people like him. I mean, Robert Rialmo was basically acquitted. Next thing you know, he's out in the street with his shirt off, bare-chested, fighting outside of a bar. That is not the kind of behavior you want from your law enforcement professionals. And I'm sure it's an embarrassment to the majority of the people on the Chicago Police Department. But let's just say this. is that they're talking about restoring the trust between the black community and the police department. Hold up, everybody. There was never any trust between the black community and the police department.
No, let's build something.
That's right. Let's build.
Say real.
That's
restore,
right. So we have to be able to talk to each other face to face, eye to eye. And let me be sexist and say it this way. We got to be able to talk man to man. Don't expect us to boy down because you're in blue. So talk to us eye to eye, man to man, eyeball to eyeball, because that's the only way we're going to get this thing solved.
Here is the $100,000 question. Even though we saw this tape, even though we have a lot of emotion connected to it, we still have a jury, and they will be the ones who will give the verdict.
Yes.
And we also know that police officers have a lot of latitude when it comes to what's a justifiable shooting. And that law is so subjective. It is so subjective. So here's the question. What do we do and where do we go from here if Jason Van Dyke is acquitted?
And there's two questions actually, Doc. I had a reporter ask me this today. She said, two scenarios. What if there's a not guilty? What happens in Chicago? And what if there's a guilty? What happens in Chicago? If it's not guilty, we breathe a sigh of relief, and we use that momentum to reform this system, because this system, we've seen, this case has brought out the flaws and the errors and the mechanism that we use to police our police. And so this gives us the momentum to do that. If it's a not guilty, I'm telling you, yeah, we're going to march, but I pray that we don't riot. And, if we have the energy.
Let me tell you.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you. A person called me and says, because I put something on Facebook, if the guy is acquitted, please do not riot. Please. The guy called me and said, hey, listen. He said, what do you want these young people to do? They're not hearing that. What should they do with that anger? Honestly. And I said, well, they can't riot, I told them, because number one, if you riot in your own neighborhood,
you destroy your own property.
Destroy your own property.
Yeah.
Then I also told them, if they go downtown, Robbie Manuel's not going to have it.
No.
It may be another shoot to kill order.
That's right.
So there is nothing productive that comes from rioting, because some people say, if they basically say this guy can walk, he's innocent, then they need to feel some pain. I agree with that, but how can you make them feel pain?
That's where we organize. We start boycotting. We start, saying we're not going to spend our money in these places. The biggest place to hit the powers that be always is in the pocket. Now, if the young folk get out there and they start rioting, well, understand that they're going to be geared up for that. I know we have a call coming in.
All right, come on, caller. Welcome to the show. All hands on deck. Reverend Iraq and Reverend Gregory, still Livingston.
Hello, how are you, gentlemen?
Doing well.
Good. Floyd Davis with the Poor People's Campaign.
Hey, Floyd.
Hey, Floyd.
Good. What I like to say is that we need to use this as a teaching tool. We need to take this anger and this energy that we see in our youth in our community and inform and educate them on the power of the ballot. The bullet is one thing, but it's destructive. The ballot is a different thing, and it's progressive. We need to organize, educate, and teach our youth the importance of the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's your friend.
Oh, yeah, the great Floyd Davis.
He's been on the front line.
Forever, Doc.
Floyd Davis.
He's an untiring warrior and soldier.
Thank you for calling.
You know what, too, Doc? And he's right about that, about the ballot. We have to, but here's the thing.
And some people are frustrated about that.
That's right.
They're saying, y'all been telling us that for years, so how do you deal with those?
I think that all of these folk that are running for mayor, we need to hear something from them. They need to show some courage to speak up about this case.
Sure.
And that's part of the problem, Doc, is that many of our people are more concerned about winning an election, right, than having a great city. And so show your courage. Step up. Come on, we know you have an opinion about this. Don't be afraid. Show some courage.
Anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else? 312-738-1060. Give us some direction. Some young people, they're overwhelmed with anxiety right now. They need some direction. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, to have a not guilty verdict is extinguishing hope.
Yeah.
You know, because there are people that haven't lived as long as we have that don't understand that trouble don't last always.
Right.
But so it extinguishes hope. And why should they hope? They just give up on this. The system's not going to work. It's not going to work for us. When I say us, I mean for black people, people of color, minorities. We're always going to be up against it. So what do? And so voter registration is one, but after you register to vote, you got to vote the right way. You have to vote for those persons that have your interests in mind and be able to vet the truth tellers from the liars.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So I was talking with.
I vote for Ira Ackery for mayor.
Okay, you got to have $3 million to run, and they always want the candidate to put up some money first.
But you have $2 million left, Ackery.
Well, I only have $50 to put up. So listen, young minister was saying in court today, we need to get all of the leaders, if this verdict doesn't go the right way, to perhaps, if we don't do nothing but for one day, say we're not going to get on the CTA. But these things are so hard to do because people still have to go to work and still have to go to school.
Gandhi did that in India where they had a sacred pause where all the Indians, the menial labor workers, and everybody didn't go to work for one day, and it showed Britain that it was impossible to be done. But oftentimes, too, I admire people that say, let's bring everybody together. And most of the time, and I say this respectfully, these are folk that have never tried to do that.
Right.
Because let's take it up big time to another scale. They're having the United Nations General Assembly right now. You have countries from all over the world that come together. Now, you have countries on this side and countries on that side. Why? Because everybody has interests and agendas, and nobody, unless there's an invasion from outer space with some different species of creature that comes down, that's going to unite us. As long as it's us against us, humanity against humanity, we're always going to have, and that's why you just got to have, it's the few and not the many that bring about the change in any society.
All right. Today is LaWuan McDonald's 21st birthday.
Happy birthday, LaWuan.
Happy birthday, LaWuan. The stone that the builders rejected.
Come on, Doc.
Has become the chief cornerstone.
Yes, sir.
Do you not know that not only is Chicago watching, but the nation is watching, the world is watching. Justice is on trial here in Chicago.
You just preached it, Doc. Justice is on trial. Is she blind or not? Is she blind or not?
That's the real question. That's the real question. Today at 6 o'clock, won't you meet us at 26 in California? We'll be there for a half hour, sending up balloons and sing up some prayers and some righteous chants, because we need to bring attention to what's going on in Chicago. No one else should ever be gunned down like this again in our city.
And let's be, if I can be a bit more controversial, we see that our mayor, who is not going to run again, and we thank God that was an item on our agenda for 3 years for Rahm to resign.
Sure.
And so,
congratulations.
Well, thank you, Doc. And, but I'm just saying, it was many of us involved in that. But the mayor is still getting a paycheck. Man, lead our city in the midst of this incredible situation. And that's been part of the problem that the people have begged for 7, 8 years of his administration, is just don't leave the elite, leave the entire city. Step up and say something. I can guarantee you, if Harold Washington were alive, he would say something about this LaWuan McDonald case. When the judge, what's his name, Vaughn, when Van Dyke violated his gag order, he gave him a $2,000 bond, which was just 10% of $200. That was an insult, everybody.
Laughable.
It was laughable.
Yes, it was.
And folk, black, white, red, yellow, brown, you got to have an insult level and a dignity level. And all that's being challenged right now against all of us. Are we going to allow people who think that we're dumb and stupid, that they can get away with murder?
Last question. Who do you think is the candidate that gives us a police reform platform the best so far?
Doc,
now I know there's other areas. That don't mean this is your candidate.
Yes, sir.
But which one deals with that one particular area?
I think it remains to be seen.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good to me. You've been looking and listening at All Hands on Deck with Reverend Ira Ackery and Reverend Gregory Seal Livingston.
And I want to thank this man for bringing me on board. I've had an incredible time this season. I've learned so much from him. He's a genius, y'all. This is a bad man. I'm serious.
I don't know what I'm going to do on Tuesdays. This guy, he always, when we're done, he always takes me out to Ruth Chris. And he spends $200, you know. I mean, I don't know where he gets all this money. All right. It's been a joy.
It's been a pleasure, Doc.
All right, take care. We'll see you next time. Coming back at you all the way in January. Until then, peace and many blessings to you.